This is step number 8 of the final project. What we're going to do now is so when we receive here the notification that someone is ringing the bell, we're gonna handle the open command so we can open the door. So we're gonna open the door for 10 seconds and then close it and come back to the initial state where the user can ask another request. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to initialize the Telegram updater. So that's what I'm gonna do now. And I'm gonna create a new file here for the step number 8. Let's copy this inside the step number 8. Let's close and let's save as intercom step 8. All right. Now let's start with the initialization of the updater. So from telegram.ext import updater and also command handler. We are going to initialize the updater here when we initialize the Telegram bot. So we have bot here. I'm going to do updater is equal to updater token is equal to Telegram token, so the same token. And then let's create a dispatcher for our commands. Dispatcher is equal to updater dot dispatcher. Then we are going to add handlers for the dispatcher. So let's put to do add handlers that I'm just going to do after the initialization. And then we need to do updater.start polling. So we need to start getting the updates from the Telegram chat. And where we are going to do that? Well, not just right now. We are going to do that after the time.sleep. So here we do, actually after we reset the input buffer, updater.start polling. Okay, why we do that after the time.sleep? Because, well, we keep this time actually for the serial communication to be correctly initialized. So if you start polling before the communication is correctly initialized, and in some of the callbacks, we're gonna send some messages to the Arduino, well, you may have some problems at this time. So we wait after the 3 seconds to start getting the Telegram commands in our code. And if I do start polling, I also need to do stop. So I'm gonna do here print. So we already have the structure. Okay, nothing more to do. The while loop with the try except. So print stopping Telegram updater. Wait a few seconds. And let's do updater.stop. And then when we have end of program, we know everything is correctly finished. Okay. Now let's add handlers. And so to add handlers, we will need some callbacks. I'm just going to create the callbacks on top of the Telegram initialization here. Let's put Telegram callbacks here. And def, let's create first a start handler with update context. And let's say that we want to just greet the user that uses the start command. So what we can do, str to send is equal to, let's say, welcome plus. And how to get the user first name? Well, that's something I'm going to show you here. You can do update, for example, update.effective user dot first name. Let's add an exclamation mark because we are very happy to send this message. And let's do context dot bot dot send message with chat ID is equal to, let's directly reply to the update dot effective chat dot ID. So as you can see, we can get many information in a callback from the user, the chat, the message, everything. And text is equal to string to send. All right. And let's add a open door handler, which is going to be more interesting here. Update context, Let's put pass for now, and we're gonna implement that. But first I'm going to add the handlers here. So dispatcher dot add handler command handler with start keyword and start handler function, and dispatcher dot add handler command handler with open keyword. Okay, if you remember here, so in the protocol we have defined we want to send open, and we also here send a message to ask to send open or deny. So let's use open, and this is gonna be open door handler. Okay, let's actually start this just to check that the updater is working. So waiting for 3 seconds. Okay, and let's go to Telegram. Let's write start, and you can see welcome Edouard. Well, that's me, and let's kill that. Control C. You can see wait a few seconds, and then we should have end of program. Okay, so just be patient here, and you can see with the 3 dashes here, it's very easy to see the end of the logs. Okay, now let's write our open door handler. So what do we want to do here? First, we want to, so now we know that we need to open the door. So we're gonna send the command to the Arduino to open the door, so with the servo motor, to print the text that the door is opened, to play a sound with the buzzer, and to change the LED to green. Okay, so 4 actions we need to send to the Arduino. We are also going to send a confirmation to Telegram, so we can know in the chat that the door has been opened. And then we will wait for 10 seconds, and after 10 seconds have passed, we are going to close the door. So let's start. I'm going to put print opening the door. So we know in the log that this is happening. And then we do send. So let's write the command to the Arduino. Send to Arduino open door, and then another send to Arduino. So let's write actually 4 of them. So we want to open the door. We also want to print text and to say that door is opened so that the user can go. We also want to play buzzer. Let's use 300 Hertz. Okay, so the higher the Hertz, basically the higher the tone, and well, usually when you have a higher tone, a higher frequency, this is more welcoming, okay, when you have a sound for a door. So we're gonna put 300 and play that for 5, so let's not put a space here, 500 milliseconds. And then we can do set LED, red is gonna be 0, and then green 255, and then blue 000. Okay, and with this we open the door, but then we need a mechanism that is going to close the door after 10 seconds, all right, because the door is not gonna close by itself. And so we can do time.sleep 10. Okay, don't worry about this time.sleep. I'm gonna explain to you just in a bit why I use this here and how it's not gonna be a problem. And so after 10 seconds, we can do, so print closing the door, and we can send commands to the Arduino. And we'll just actually, after we have sent command to the Arduino here, we can also do bot.send message to the chat. So chat ID is equal to update.effective chat.id, because we are in a callback, we have the update with the chat ID, and text is equal to opening the door. So we also have a confirmation on the Telegram that our command was successfully processed. Okay, so then we wait for 10 seconds and we close the door. So to close the door, we send to Arduino, we're gonna send also 4 commands. Okay, so we're gonna send close door, and then print text. Let's go back to normal, push on button to call. We're gonna play also buzzer, okay, to inform that the door is actually closing. Let's say 200, so a lower pitch for also 500 milliseconds. And then set LED back to blue, so 000, 000, 255. Okay, so as you can see, if you want to send commands to the Arduino, well, now that's very easy. You just do send to Arduino with the correct command and parameters, and everything is gonna be taken care of because you have written the code before to do that. Okay, and now if you remember, we still have a flag that we have set here, open door request. So what we want to do is we want to say that at the end, open door request is equal to false. So we can send a request, and then when we open the door, so we send a message from Telegram to the Raspberry Pi, this is going to open the door, and then after 10 seconds, close the door, and then the open door request is now false, so we can send another request with another photo to Telegram. Okay, and well, if we want actually to use the open door request boolean, which is a global variable, we need to do global open door request here, because we are inside a function. So if you are inside a function in Python and you want to access a global variable to modify it, you need to use global open door request inside the function. Otherwise, well, you're just going to create a new variable, open door request, which is not going to be the global one. And one additional thing, I'm going to do if open door request, and put that inside the if. Why is that? Because, well, let's open the Telegram chat. Thing is that if you send /open command, so now the code is not running, so that's not gonna work, but anytime you send open, that's gonna go inside the open door handler, all right? Like anytime you send start, it's gonna say welcome. So every time you send open, it's gonna go here. And so if you send open, it's gonna open the door. But what we want in this application is that you only open the door when you have a request. So we check that we have a request. If we have a request, we open the door, and then we close it, and then we put the open door request to false. So of course, this kind of decision is depending on your real application. Maybe you want to open the door at any time, and then that's fine. You just don't put that if here. Here I just put it because, well, I've decided in the application to do that, but this will depend on what you want to already do, of course. And one other thing I'm gonna add here, because if you just run like this, you may have some weird behaviors. For example, that if you, well, send a request and then from Telegram you send multiple times open, well, what you will see is that this is first gonna be executed and then it's gonna be executed again. Why is that? Because, well, how is the updater working basically with the dispatcher? When you receive a keyword, it's gonna directly call the callback function in a different thread. Okay, so that's why, for example, the time.sleep is not a problem for the main thread, because that's gonna be on a different thread. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about multi-threading. It's a bit more complex, but I'm gonna keep things simple here so you can follow. So you have the main thread here in the while loop, and when you receive a command in a different thread, you're gonna execute the callback. But if you receive multiple commands, all the callbacks are gonna be executed one by one in these different threads. So if you receive multiple open door handler commands, it's gonna be executed once, and then another time. And because of the time sleep, then if you receive, for example, 3 commands, well, it's gonna first spend 10 seconds in that, and then 10 seconds in the second one, and 10 seconds in the third one. So what we want to do basically is to say that instead of queuing the callbacks, we want to execute them all inside different threads. So every time you receive a new command, you execute it in yet another thread, so you can run multiple callbacks at the same time. And to do this is actually very easy. So it's a bit complicated to explain, but it's very easy to implement. You put run async, so run asynchronously is equal to true in the command handler. So you had a third optional argument here. And now that we have this, we have yet another problem, because, so let's say now you request the opening of the door, you receive that on Telegram, and you send open 3 times. So the 3 open door handlers are going to be executed at the same time. And the open door request is going to be true for all of them. So from 3 different threads, we're going to send this and then send this. So we don't want this. And I'm going to add yet another flag here that I'm going to name, let's name it handling door is equal to false. So whenever we handle the door, which means basically that we open the door, we close the door, we deny the access, every time we handle the door, we're going to put this flag to true so that any other callback will not be able to handle the door at the same time. And so in our open door handler, I'm going to do also global handling door so I can access the global variable and modify it. And so I'm going to check before I open the door, I'm going to check that I have an open door request and that I don't have the handling door flag on. And then if I open the door, I'm going to set the handling door flag to true. And once I am done, I'm going to set it to false. Okay, so that is maybe not the ideal best 100% solution to multi-threading, but this is going to be fine for our application, and I don't want to go too deep on multi-threading here. That's out of the scope of this course. But we still need to work a bit on that, so we have an application that works well. So what's going to happen here? Let's say you send 3 open comments from Telegram and you have the open door request on because you have previously pressed on the push button. So you're going to have 3 callbacks that are going to be called. Let's say the first one is going to see that, yes, we have a request and we don't have the handling door flag. So it's going to enter here and put the flag to true directly. And then it's going to do its thing and sleep for 10 seconds. And then the second and the third callbacks are going to be called independently, but when they are going to arrive at that if, they're going to see that, yes, we have the open door request, but this flag is already true, so we can't enter the if and we're going to exit. And so you're going to only have 1 callback that is working at a time. And finally, the last thing I'm going to add in the main loop, here I'm also going to add and not handling door. So basically we want to take a photo and send it to Telegram when we have at least 5 seconds passed and when we don't have an open door request that is currently on, and also when we are not handling the door. Okay, because if we are handling the door, well, the button should not work. The button should only work after the door is correctly handled. All right, so now we can test this code. If you had some trouble about the multi-threading explanation, well, that's not a problem because this is something we haven't talked about in this course. That's a bit outside of the scope, and you can come back to it later and continue to make progress on the project. Basically, you could do without the multi-threading, but here this is just so we can improve the code to make it more robust. And now I am going to run that code. Okay, we have the starting here, waiting for 3 seconds. Main loop is starting. I open the Telegram app. I'm going to press on the push button. You can see, please wait for a few seconds. Someone is ringing the bell here, and well, let's say we want to open, so I'm going to send open or just click on open here. Okay, it's working. Door is opened, green LED. The door is opened. Let's wait 10 seconds. And we should have, okay, push on button to call, blue LED, and the door is closed. And with the few additions we did here on the code, you can also try to send multiple open comments here, and you're gonna see that they are not gonna work. And also if I send open now, well, the callback is still working, but we can't open the door because we don't have a request. All right, and that's the end of the step number 8. We are almost done with the final project.